Hey everybody, welcome to the press. Welcome to the start of a new week. It's another signature week on the PGA Tour schedule. I'm Ryan Ballingy. Thanks for being here. Hope you had a very successful U.S. Open week in terms of your betting. We almost got there. I did not have Bryson DeChambeau in the portfolio. I've talked about him obviously on the show, being a good player, being the guy that you should look out for, but my money was in other places and unfortunately did not cash. But hopefully you did, took some of my advice, and came out ahead for the week. This week, as mentioned, we have the Travelers Championship up in Cromwell, Connecticut, not too far from the Hartford area, half hour, 45 minutes, depending on traffic. Good tournament, 72-player field, another no-cut tournament this week. We'll talk about that in today's episode, opening lines, first clicks, good stuff like that. Tomorrow we'll talk about the model for the tournament, horses for courses, course fit, those types of things. And then we've got a full slate this week outside of the Travelers Championship, where we're going to have more weeks like this for the next several, really going throughout the summer, where you're going to have an LPGA event, which is a major this week, the Women's PGA Championship up at Sahalee in Washington. Then we have the KLM Open, the Dutch Open on the DP World Tour. We've got Liv playing in Nashville on a former host course for the Korn Ferry Tour. We've got the Korn Ferry Tour playing in Oklahoma, and we've got the seniors playing in upstate New York, Endicott, New York, with the Dick's Open. So Wednesday we'll talk about all those other things, and two of those tournaments start on Friday anyway. But today we're going to kick it off with our first show of the week about the Travelers Championship. Now, Travelers Championship, $20 million event, 72-player field, 3 sponsor exemptions got in at the end. Yet again, Webb Simpson gets in on a sponsor exemption, totally unwarranted, absolutely criminal. Billy Horschel gets in, has been playing well. Adam Scott gets in, has been playing pretty well. Not great, but well enough, I guess. But board members like Adam Scott and Webb Simpson continuing to get sponsor exemptions into these signature events is absurd. Just absurd. Nevertheless, they're still there. They're part of the field. The other guy that you're going to notice that you probably would not expect to be in this field is Michael Thorbjornsen, who is making his PGA Tour debut as a professional this week. Just turned pro after college. Has a card to the PGA Tour courtesy of PGA Tour U. Was invited to play. Has played in this tournament as an amateur. I believe finished T4 as an amateur, if I remember right, just a couple years ago. Maybe it was last year. I think it was 2 years ago. Whatever. Great player coming out of college, and is probably going to be a guy that has a quick impact in professional golf as a professional golfer. He's had some good starts this year. Worldwide, played well on the DP World Tour once already this year. So he's somebody that you're not going to know a whole lot about, but he's a guy that you're going to get to know a whole lot about in the coming weeks, months, and years on this tour. Otherwise, we have all the usual suspects here. You have Scotty Scheffler, you've got Rory McIlroy, you've got Xander Schauffele, you've got Patrick Cantlay, you got Colin Morikawa, all those folks. Now, expect this week to be different from a couple of different perspectives. One, it's a post-major week, and pretty much everyone I mentioned there had some kind of stress that came out of the tournament. In Scheffler's case, it was that he barely made the cut despite being a sub 3-1 favorite going into the week. And that makes it, it's not an easy week for him, just the same as it's not easy for McIlroy, who should have won the U.S. Open, let's be candid, with the way he played on Sunday. And then Cantlay had himself a great week as well. He's part of the equation. There's a lot of stress there. Pavon, for what it's worth, he was wonderful. I thought for sure he was going to back down multiple times starting Friday afternoon, and it never happened. Congrats to him on an incredible week for a guy that's playing his first full season on the PGA Tour. Already a winner, and showed some moxie there on Sunday. I thought that was cool. Colin Morikawa got himself into contention. Had himself a really great Saturday, one of the best U.S. Open rounds you're ever going to see outside of a Sunday, shooting a bogey-free 66 to put himself in it. Back down on Sunday, but still, hey, you're in the thick of it with a late tee time. It's a long week. And then Xander Schauffele, who unfortunately did not have his best stuff on Saturday, but had himself a solid week, another top 10 finish. Ludwig Aubert had himself a great first 2 2/3 days until he got to the 13th hole on Saturday. It still had himself a nice week to finish inside the top 12 there in the end. So these players, all of them, they're all the superstars of the PGA Tour. They all had something to care about, something to be stressed about or anxious about last week. They're all going to show up here. Now, I'm curious if McIlroy will actually finish the tournament or even really attempt to play it in a meaningful way. Maybe he'll withdraw. I don't know. But he obviously took the loss really hard, and it showed, right? I mean, you saw the reaction inside that scoring room where hands on hips and then just disgusted look on his face and peeling out of there pretty quickly. No media, no handshakes, no nothing. And you can have whatever view of that you like, whether you think he should have or shouldn't have done that. That's not the point of the show. But the guy looks like he's just mortified by what happened. And he can either withdraw, literally withdraw, or withdraw from his feelings and kind of zonk out, or he can get mad and try to do something about it and go win this week. And yes, that wouldn't make up for giving away the U.S. Open on 2 putts of 4 feet or shorter, but maybe that's the best. That's the best way you can interpret it to move forward. Is okay. Well, now I've got to do something about it. So I don't know, but that all said, I think that has to go in your handicapping this week in thinking about this tournament. That there is a very realistic possibility that all of those players may, not that they won't try or put forth a good effort, but that they're just exhausted. And they've been asked to play 3 weeks in a row between Memorial, the U.S. Open. Memorial's hard, right? Very trying golf course, very trying conditions. U.S. Open, naturally stressful, very difficult conditions, but also a major championship. And now you're asking them to come to a place where it's not particularly stressful. I mean, TPC River Highlands can be kind of tight, but it's also very friendly. There are plenty of low scores to be had there. There's been a 58 there. It's not especially challenging. It's a sub 7,000 yard golf course. If you want to play really, really well, you can take it really, really deep. So I think there's an opportunity here this week that has not typically been there this season for a long shot to win. I'm not saying to count on that. I'm not saying that that's an absolute. But I think for the first time in a couple of months, there is a very realistic possibility of a long shot winner. Kind of more like we had at the earlier portion of this year where they're just week after week, you're like, who is this guy? How did he win? How did that happen? 150, 200, 301. You're probably not going to get that kind of value in this tournament because you have 72 players. There's no cut. All those things reduce the kind of profile of the board, right? The odds of someone being 400 or 500 to 1 are very difficult here this week because you're going to make the cut, right? There is none. You're guaranteed 4 rounds. So your best values this week are probably going to be in the 60, 70, 100 range. There'll be some of those guys, and then beyond that, you're starting to get to kind of clingers on, hangers on type guys. But still, relative value this week, I think, is to be had. Look at the top of the table. Scotty Scheffler's 9-2. Rory McIlroy's 15-2, so plus 450, plus 750. Xander Schauffele is 8-1. Won here 2 years ago. Yet another top 10 finish for the season. You got to like what you see from Xander Schauffele. Colin Morikawa, 16-1, makes a lot of sense. Ludwig, 16-1, makes a lot of sense. Guys are playing well. They've been playing well. I don't know that a super short golf course is the best thing for Ludwig, but I think he could play very well. Patrick Cantlay at 20-1 is probably going to be a lot of people's pick this week. If you want to bet him, I would think you get on him quickly. He's probably going to get down to 16-1 by the time this thing tees off. He has been in the top 15 here the last 5 years, 5 out of 5. Challenged 59 here as an amateur player 13 years ago. Likes the golf tournament and just had the most encouraging week of his year, or at least since February. There's a lot to take from that. And I know we just talked about him having a ton of stress, but might be one of those guys who can take that experience and turn it into a positive, going, hey, I almost had a chance to win the U.S. Open. I stuck in there on Sunday, gave myself an opportunity, an outside chance, and now I can go to a place where I really like, go clean up a whole boatload of money, and make it all feel a little bit better. I like him a whole lot this week. Victor Hovland's 22. Hideki's 25. He's been playing bad. I mean, we talked about him a little bit last week, not loving the lack of consistency, but a lot of positives there. Sahith is 28-1, was second here just a couple of years ago. Gave himself a good chance to win. Probably, again, should have won the golf tournament. but didn't handle the 18th hole especially well, and that cost him. But he has been playing pretty okay. Not his best, but his game is very, very good. Tommy Fleetwood's 33-1, and if he had ever won in this country, I would bet him this week. I love him a lot for a one and done league. I think he has the kind of game that can shine out very well here. He's just been playing good golf. Tony Finau's 35-1. If this weren't a super short kind of tight golf course, I would probably pick him. I would probably put him in the portfolio. Might still, because I think he's been playing very good golf for the last month or so. He held his head up high after having a tough Saturday, and he still managed to have a great week for himself. And in terms of demeanor, kind of how you carry yourself, Finau's one of those guys who seems very fine when things don't go right. And I'm sure he gets upset and mad and stuff like that, but I think he has a good perspective on what it means to not win a major championship. Like when he came out of the PGA Tour, no one ever figured Tony Finau as a major champion, as a world beater. But he's gotten himself in position several times over the years, and he's experienced that heartbreak. But I think he understands that there are opportunities, they're not negatives for him. So I like his chances. Justin Thomas is 40-1 along with Russell Henley, who should play this course very well. Sam Burns is 40-1. Another good finish for Sam Burns. He is flying so far into the radar right now. It really feels that way. Been playing good golf, really great golf, and it's been on a variety of different course types. It seems that he is pretty well dialed in right now. Would not be shocked if he wins this week. Brian Harmon's 45-1, your other horse for course play. He loves getting right at this property. Really loves playing this golf course. Tom Kim playing good tee to green golf, 45-1. I like his chances here, but you're going to get into a track meet. That might be tough for him. Then again, seems to thrive on those kinds of tournaments, so maybe that's a good thing for him. Corey Connors had a really nice U.S. Open, 50-1. I think is worth a look. Has to take a lot of positive from that week to find himself on the Olympic team for the Canadians. That's cool. It's going to be a great experience for him. Your 50s, other than that, you've got Jordan Spieth, your defending champion Keegan Bradley, Matt Fitzpatrick, who's been playing pretty well, Max Homa, who missed the cut, but seemed to take it pretty well in stride. Sungjae Im is 50-1. I think Sungjae's worth a look here as well. He has been playing pretty solid golf. If you look at his last, month, the results are quite good. You look at scroll past me there for a second. I'm looking at his results profile. Yeah, I know he missed the cut at the U.S. Open, but T9 and T8 in his last two regular PGA Tour events. Before that, T4 at Wells Fargo, T12 at the Heritage. He's missed the cut in all three majors this year. I mean, that stinks, right? But in terms of the PGA Tour, good, very good. So I think there's something to like there quite a bit. But, man, horrible in the majors this year. 77, 74, 73, 72, 74, 76. 6 rounds, all missed cuts. But that's behind us now. So maybe worth a look here this week. Sepp Straka had himself a very nice U.S. Open, made a hole-in-one. Thank you for the beers on, what was that, Thursday? That was Friday. There were 2 holes in one on Friday. On that same hole. What they do, like I was down at Pinehurst, so what they do in the media center is they'll usually get like the beer sponsor to give the media beer if they want it, as a nice little keepsake's not the right word, nice little like thank you, sponsor tie-in, like be nice to us, we gave you a beer kind of thing. T56 of the U.S. Open, 78 on Saturday is what killed him, but outside that horrible round, 72 on Sunday, not bad. Prior events to that, T5, miscut at the PGA, T8, T11, T5, T16, miscut, T16. Sepp Straka's had his best year on the PGA Tour, and it's not even close. I would not be shocked if he wins this week. You got to keep him in mind. Lakes tight golf courses, I think this is kind of a place to love his game. Shane Lowry and Wyndham Clark are 60, along with Ben On. Pass for me. Adam Scott, Billy Horschel, Cam Young, Denny McCarthy, Siwoo Kim, Will Zalatoris, all 65-1. Kind of interested in Siwoo. I'm particularly interested in Denny McCarthy, not because I love his driving, but because if he can just, it's shorter, so he doesn't have to drive for everywhere, keeps it in play, and he can putt better than everybody else. There's something to be said for that. Jason Day 70, Akshay Bhatia 80. Bhatia showed up a little bit. Shorter golf course. Won his first PGA Tour event on a relatively tight venue, very, very much a tree-lined venue. Might be coming into something there. Christian Bezadenhout out 80-1. Been having a great ball striking year. Would be interesting here. Harry English, JT Post, and Tom Hoagie all 80-1. Here's how well Michael Thorbjornsen is thought of. He's 100-1 in a signature event field, along with Mac Hughes, Bob McIntyre, Stephen Yeager, and Tom Dietrich. Tom Dietrich is really interesting to me because I feel like he's had a nice year, and he's gotten himself into position in majors a couple of times over the years. Maybe it's just not in the cards for him, right? Like, maybe he's just never going to be that kind of guy. But this year on the PGA Tour, he has 4 top 10 finishes. And if you look at his year, it has been lovely. Working backwards, T14 at the U.S. Open. Nice 70 to close after a tough Saturday. T41, T56, T4 at the PGA. Great finishes in the majors this year. Missed the cut at the Byron Nelson. He played the Zurich Classics. That doesn't really count. But T28 at Heritage. Co-runner-up in Houston. T17 at the Valspar. He's had a T4 at Pebble Beach, although that was shortened. Just had a very, very good year. I think he's worth a flyer here in that 100-1 range, 110-1 range, depending on where you look. Austin Eckroat, Ben Griffin, Chris Kirk, Lucas Glover, Matthew Pavon, 110-1. Maybe Pavon takes something positive from this and goes wins second time this year. Taylor Pendrith's 110-1. Had a very nice PGA champion, had a very nice U.S. Open championship. Maybe worth a flyer there. There's some value to be had, perhaps. Adam Hadwin, Justin Rose, Kurt Kitayama, Nick Dunlap, 125-1. I know we talked about really going much beyond 100-1 is probably a bad choice this week, and I would still tend to think so. Nick Dunlap keeps showing up, man. I almost wonder if he's worth a first-round leader bet this week. If he gets the right draw and just kind of gets out there and feels relaxed, and I think this is going to be a more relaxed week for the players, just because they're coming off a major. A lot of these guys, all these guys in the signature event, they've played 3 in a row, basically, almost all of them. They're going to be tired. Then you're going to have the week after, and it's just going to be a free fall of play, in terms of quality of field. And also this week is expected to be an announcement regarding PGA Tour and the Saudi Public Investment Fund and some kind of deal. We don't know what that looks like, but there's been reporting that that's going to come out tomorrow. And that may change some things. That may rile some guys up. We'll see what happens there. But I think that's worth considering. And then I think that's it. I really think that's it this week. I think Jake Knapp at 250-1 is a bit of a slap in the face, to be honest. I know he's not playing great, but that's a slap in the face. But I wouldn't go really beyond 125-1 here. And even then, you might want to just shift that bet to like a first-round leader bet and see if you can't get, lock up your money for one day, not 4, because you're guaranteed to lock it up for 4, and see what happens. If you might do better with some of these guys in a 1-day scenario than a 4-day scenario. So it might be worth looking at this week. It should be an interesting week, like I said. Sounds like there's going to be some earthquake-type news here, and that's going to shake the foundation of the PGA Tour. And if that happens that way, then that things can be thrown up in the air. It can have a tangible impact. It might not at all. Players might have been tipped to this. Who knows? But I think that's something we got to consider here. So let's hear that out tomorrow. We'll do the modeling. We'll do the current form, course fit, all that good stuff. And then we'll kind of make some judgments about what we see this week. And then Wednesday, of course, we'll get everything else in the books around LIV and the DP World Tour and the Women's PGA and the Dix Open in New York and the Korn Ferry Tour out in Oklahoma in our final show of the week. Thanks so much for listening to the show. Appreciate it. You want to get a hold of me, Ryan at thegolfnewsnet.com, Twitter, Threads, X, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Ryan Ballingy, Facebook, YouTube, Ryan Ballingy Golf. You can join Golf News Net for $40 a year at golfnewsnet.com. It could be $10 for a week, but you had a great chance last week if you joined. You could have gotten 5 majors for 1 year and gotten that basically in perpetuity, but still always a great time to join. We're going to add a couple of tools in the next couple of weeks, better visualization tools about current player trends. I think you'll really like them. We've got lots on the docket, lots happening behind the scenes, but we're still very much committed to making the membership and the tools around it always better for you. We'll be back with another show tomorrow. Thanks so much for listening. We'll catch you next time on The Press.